May we be nourished and protected. May we gain strength and knowledge. May we come to divine and loving realizations, and may we never quarrel. Peace, peace, peace. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bunaktu Sahaviryam Kalavavahai Tejasvina Vadidamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Oh my goodness, guys, we made it. We made it. We've made it to the third limb. We've gotten over the yama, the niyama, the first two required steps on this yogic path of the 8-limb path and practice. And we've made it to the one that has become synonymous with the word yoga. Absolutely synonymous. Asana. The third limb, asana, has become synonymous with yoga. Rightfully so? Not at all. Is it proper? Is it correct? Is it respectful to the ancient tradition? Not at all. But we have made the third limb of 8 limbs, one component of 8 components. The West, the world, they've turned the sacred science into one limb. Posturing. Asana. Posture. Now that word asana doesn't mean posture. Asana means seat. Okay, so let's get that right out of the way. Asana means seat. A seat in which way? A seat how it's used. Why are we even moving on the mat? How did we get to where we are today? And what is the proper utility of the asana, whether it's on the mat or in its most traditional context? That and more we're going to cover today in today's session. But before I go any further, please drop a like. Please drop a share, a comment. Do whatever you need to do to this post to get the algorithm to acknowledge it and send it to more people. It would really help me. It would help me so much. I'm new to this, but you guys have been so great. Your support of the channel and the series so far has been so great. So I can't thank you all enough. And yeah, let's get right into it. Subscribe. I don't know if I said that one, but do that too. Okay. Asana is not yoga. All right. When you get on a mat, and you do a couple moves, a warrior and a split, and a handstand and a down dog. That is not yoga. You're not doing yoga, okay? Now, is this the popular thing? No, this is not, all right? Now, is there a way to make that into a yogic practice? 1,000%, 100%. The way to do that is through knowledge, is through understanding, is through a basis of understanding on the traditional and sacred science of that practice before getting onto the mat. Now, in my classes, what I like to do is I like to make sure that the practice, the lesson, is on the mat. So you're doing a down dog and you're being told why it's important, why you're moving in the way you are, and what relevance it has on this 8-limb path. Because any student of any yoga teacher that is a true yoga teacher, they will know of the 8 limbs. They will know that asana isn't yoga. They'll know these things absolutely. They'll know it as a fact because it is. I like to always give an analogy for this one. Let's say there was an ancient sauce, okay? Ancient sauce, it's the holy sauce, the sacred sauce. And anyone that tastes that sauce, they immediately are freed from all suffering. They find bliss everlasting. And it's just a taste. It's just one spoonful. Okay? It's not a bowl of it. It's not a quart of it. It's one spoonful. And that sauce has 8 ingredients. Okay? 8 ingredients. Well, one of the ingredients, let's say it's the third ingredient for this conversation's sake. The third ingredient is a pinch of sugar. Okay? A pinch of sugar. Now, the other ingredients, they require preparation. Maybe something has to be chopped or diced or peeled, okay? But the pinch of sugar, it's there. You just pinch a little bit, throw it in the sauce, and you're good to go. So it's the easiest. It's the most easy to attain. It wouldn't matter if a child reached into that bowl of sugar or if an adult reached into the bowl of sugar. If they get the proper quantity, a pinch, they have fulfilled that component of the recipe. But the child isn't going to be able to use the knife to do the chopping, the dicing, and the peeling. Okay, so we've got to have some understanding on what the proper quantities are. Because if we let the child decide, because they're not going to be able to complete the preparations for the sauce, they'll taste sugar. And that sugar is good. It's sweet, it's delicious. Ooh, give me more sugar. That's what the child will say. And they'll take more than the pinch. And they'll take a little bit more. Now, the good sugar will leave a good reaction, but that pleasant reaction from the sugar is fleeting. It only lasts as long as that sugar high lasts, that sugar rush lasts, and then it's gone. And there's more sugar required to feel that feeling again, feel that pleasant feeling again. So imagine over time, and only within the last like 50 years, 60 years, we've taken this ancient and sacred science, we've taken the one component, this one sweet component, this very simple to observe component, and we've started making it more and more into that's the sauce. So over time, the childish way ruled out, and the sauce recipe has seemingly been lost. And there's people scooping their hands into a bowl of sugar and calling it this everlasting blissful sauce. It's not. It's fleeting. You know it if you feel it on the mat. You know it if you've done a yogasana practice. It's a great feeling. Shavasana, the last posture, which we'll get into, oh my gosh, it's bliss. It's absolute bliss. But then you get up, and then you start your day, and you put your sandals back on, and you get back in the car, and you go through your day, and that effect slowly dissipates, just like anything else. But the truest goals of this practice, they are everlasting. They are eternal. They might not be felt right off the bat, but at least they can be walked towards, crawled towards, climbed towards if need be. So we have to know the goal of what we're doing on the mat. We have to know that there are 7 other limbs, Shashapta Anga, around that one. And we have to know that we're going to have to do a little bit more preparation, a little bit more studying, a little bit more understanding before we go back towards that one. Because when you go to make the sauce, if you think that the asana is, if you think that the sauce is the sugar, and you start pulling out a little bit of sugar to put in other ingredients, the sauce is still going to be real sweet. It's going to be really sweet. So instead, we can start from scratch. And then when the time is right and the proportions of everything else are proper, then we can add back in the sugar. Again, if you're practicing on the mat with me, this doesn't happen. Because within my classes and within my teacher lineage, we make sure that the understanding is there as the practice is happening. Wouldn't tell someone to do something without them understanding why they're doing what they're doing. Okay? It's very, very important. And this also goes for all of my students within Purna Yoga Shala. Any one of the students that I've done in a teacher training, they will tell you first, yoga is the 8 limbs. They won't acknowledge the movement of the posture as yoga. A warrior 1 is not yoga. And how many times do we hear this? Because I can do a handstand. I'll do a handstand and someone will say, oh, that's a very difficult yoga pose. That handstand is just a handstand. Now, if you could see within and understand what's going on within, then yes, we want our inversions to become a very crucial part of our yogasana sadhana, because that sadhana is reliant upon our mental state. All right, so now we're going to get into that. Let's get into this. Let's get into what is the original meaning, what is the original definition, if there is one, to asana. And thankfully, there is one. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, we hear this word asana. He's telling us right in the second chapter, right in the Sadhanapada, the chapter on the practice, and he tells us that there's 2 components to an asana. All right, so the sutra itself is Stiram Sukham Asanam. Stiram Sukham Asanam. So there's 3 words. You hear asana, obviously, at the end. The first 2, stiram, Okay, let's break this down. Steer, stoic, still, steady, anything like that, where it's strong in its stature, it's a statue, it's perfectly still. It can't be moved. Even if someone was to come over and try to move it, definitely wouldn't be moved from anything internally. It stays perfectly still. But stillness can't be sustained if it's uncomfortable. All right, so at first, if I told you to sit in a chair, not chair pose, which we'll get into the names of the postures. This might have to be like a few videos on asana. That's probably what's going to happen. This is going to be a mini series in the series. But say I tell you to sit in a chair. You can get comfortable in the chair so that you could sit for a sustainable amount of time. Would you sit still? I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know exactly who you are individually, so maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. But it's a good chart. It's a good start to practice sitting in a chair perfectly still. Okay? Because you recognize that it's only in the comfort of the chair that you find the stillness. What if I was to have you lean your rear end against the wall and sit down as low as you were as if you were in a chair, and told you to sustain that? Well, that's going to be a lot shorter of a duration because your body is going to respond. It's going to tell you discomfort, pain, suffering, avoid this. And the mind responds and you stand up off the wall. There was a way out. You knew that all you had to do to relieve yourself of that discomfort was to stand up. Okay? So, Stiram Sukham Asanam is going to be implying very specific postures that are sustainable, and that is the word sukham, comfortable, sustainable. You can stay in it. You won't be still only for 5 seconds. You'll be still for the duration of the dhyana sadhana, the meditative practice, because this asana is really just it's just the groundwork. It's just the building blocks. It's the body has to be still for the internal processes to take place, because when the body goes still, the next thing that has to still is the internal, the subtle body, the shukshma sharira. It has to be still. It has to find peace and comfort in the same way that the body has to be comfortable to be still. So when you are sitting in a posture, if your mind is uncomfortable, of course, the body's not going to stay still. They are relying on one another. Just like the mind told the body, discomfort, avoid this, and the body reacted by standing off the wall. In the same way, when you sit still, comfortably, the next comfort that has to be there is the mental comfort, because that mind will tell you, I'm uncomfortable, and you'll escape that discomfort. You'll escape that however you need to. Or you'll absorb into it, which is obviously much more detrimental. So we want to be in an observant state. Okay? We want to find an observant state. This comes from our understanding of what the absolute goal of the practice is. Tada drashtu svarupe vastanam. All right, this is one of the earlier sutras. I think it's the third. Yeah, it's the third sutra. Tada drashtu svarupe vastanam. Tada drashtu. You are the witness. Okay, you become the witness. I'm not going to break that one down in great detail right now. I definitely will another day, maybe even another series covering the sutras. But know that that has to be understood, because you don't want to be identifying. And it's very, very simple. This is a very simple practice, okay? First, we can understand this practice by knowing how we refer to ourselves, how we refer to our internal instruments. I don't identify as my senses, okay? I see, my eyes are seeing, but right there it's a claim. My eyes, it's a possession. If I was to hold up my hand, if you want to do it with me, sitting at home, we'll make it interactive, right? Look at your hand, point at your hand, and tell me what that is. Is it you? Or is it your hand? This is my hand, and this is my hand. I pointed at my hand with my hand. So I'm I'm possessive. When I'm in my car, I'm not the car. It's a vehicle. Just like my hand, my body, my mind, they're instruments, they're vehicles, they're tools. Okay? And each of them have their own utility. So when I go to still the body and I go to quiet and calm and bring peace to the mind, if I'm identifying as one or the other, then it becomes much more difficult. We have to have that understanding that the the standpoint sought is from the witness. All right, the witness, understanding the claiming component, the I before I am. All right, and that's going to be really fun to break down with you guys. Really, really fun. But today we're on asana. All right, so now I'm the witness, and I'm watching my body. Let's go back to that sitting in the. It's not a normal posture. I know it's not something you do on the yoga mat. I'm doing that for a good reason. I want you to understand that it's a mental, it's what's happening within the mind that makes what's happening on the mat into yoga. Otherwise, it's just exercise. And don't let anyone ever tell you any different. If there's not the internal understanding of what's going on that mat, that is exercise. And there's so many great exercises out there. There's so many great ways to move your body and to stay in great shape and to be healthy. So many. There's Zumba, there's gyms everywhere, there's Pilates, there's so many things that we don't have to take asana, one part of yoga, and label it as yoga just to squeeze it into the rest of the fitness world in that modality. And again, I know this isn't the popular thing. There's people that make millions, billions of dollars off of this industry every time a yoga mat or yoga pants are purchased. But again, without understanding that block is a block. It's not a yoga block. A mat is just rubber or whatever material it's made out of. It's not a yoga mat until the person that steps on that mat knows what yoga is and is practicing internally. Okay? Because the movement of the body, as we said, it can't be yoga. There's no stillness. All right? Stiram. First thing he says, stiram, be still. If the postures are, if we're constantly moving one posture to the next, and we don't have a moment to enjoy that sadhana, that internal practice, then it's very much so just movement. It's very much so just exercise. But there's points where we can pause. And this is for you teachers out there. This is a nice secret. We have the ability to pause everyone. And then you remember that there's very, common sayings in this yoga world that we should be acknowledging every single day. The posture starts when you want to leave it. When you want to leave it. Your mind. The mind that you've been claiming, you've been identifying as. Back to that wall, right? You're sitting on the wall and the mind sends signals to the body. Discomfort, avoid this, leave this posture. But what if you're the witness? What if you're not reactive to that? What if you don't acknowledge that? What if you show dispassion towards that? Abhyasa varagyabhyam ta nirodha. Abhyasa, the repetition, the repetitive practice within, is vairagya, dispassion. A disconnect between the ego, who's claiming that mind, the claim of discomfort, okay, and then watching those two things eventually calm and go quiet on their own. It might get louder, it might get more rambunctious, but eventually you might react. Then that's fine. The next time the posture is breathed into a little bit longer. The observant standpoint is held a little bit longer, and then the posture is released. So we gain little by little, shiner, little by little, and we slowly climb up the third limb, climb that limb of posturing. I'll let you in on a secret. Lots of secrets getting thrown around today. I'll let you in on a secret. If you're sitting still in meditation, if you're sitting still, completely still, your body is in a comfortable seated position, on a chair or on the ground, wherever you are, your mind's going to do the same thing. It might take a little bit longer because you're comfortable, but ego is going to start getting uncomfortable. And that's where we take the reins. That's where we take control. That's where we take a step back and we show that dispassion. I have a couple examples that I give a lot of the times when I talk dispassion, when I teach dispassion. But one that I want right off, I'll end the session with, excuse me, today I'll end the session with this one. If you're familiar with Charlie Brown, the show Charlie Brown back in the day, the parents, whenever the parents would talk in that show, they weren't heard by the children. It was wah, 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 wah. Okay? So, of course, I want to dive deep into this. I want anyone that's tuned in, subscribed, watching this channel, interacting with this channel, I want you guys to have the knowledge to carry onto the mat so that your practice advances every single time. Not once a month, not once in a blue moon, not because the teacher, did a teacher training or a workshop and you gained a little bit more. No, send this to your friends. Stay tuned in here. I want you to have the tools to carry onto the mat that are so enriching. They enrich the practice. They enliven the practice. And if you thought yoga was fun before, just wait until you start incorporating the internal practice at the exact same time. It's gorgeous. It's bliss-inducing, I promise you. But yes, back to that example. Womp, 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 womp. You're in the posture. Let's say it's a warrior. No, let's go back. You're sitting up against the wall. I'm not going to use postures today. I'm going to stay with this sitting against the wall. Because it's difficult. I don't know if you've ever done it. Try it if you haven't. But it's very difficult. Your mind will start to cry and complain. My legs, I'm suffering. I'm in discomfort. Release. Avoid this, right? And what do we do instead? Instead, we put on our Charlie Brown ears. And that voice, that yearning, that thought of release this is heard as womp, 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 womp. And all you do instead is practice the fourth limb. Okay, I'm not going to go into this one in the next video, but I am going to relay this knowledge to you because, again, I want you to carry this immediately onto your mat. You hear womp, 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 and then all you do is return to your breath. Pranayama. Control your breathing. Watch your inhale. Control the exhale. And don't react to the womp womp. Just let it go. Breathe. Okay? In what way? How does that affect us? Where does yoga come from? The history of this asana practice. I want to touch all this with you guys, and I'm really so very grateful that you join, you comment below, leave any questions or contemplations that you might have in the comments below. I'm so grateful that you share with your like-minded yogic practitioner friends, and that you're all subscribed. It really means the world to me. This is so impactful. The yoga, the sacred science, is so impactful that if we're going to be doing yoga in a studio or yoga on a mat, let's infuse the sacred science into it. Let's impact all those people that are perceiving themselves as practicing yoga. Let's impact those lives that much more. Let's bring the benefits, the fullest benefits, to every single person that perceives themselves as doing yoga, and let's watch the world become a very peaceful and very unified place. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you so much for your support. Truly means the world to me. Let's close with mantra. Move us out of ignorance to truth. Let us be moved out of darkness into light. And let us be moved from our mortal perception to an immortal realization. Peace, peace, peace. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormam Ritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om.